All right, you guys, I'm going through my Twitter feed and just adding my commentary, and hopefully this is fun and this is useful, and maybe it's not, who knows? But I think like when you're writing for Twitter, you have to limit it to 280 characters, right? And so you can't, there's usually a lot of wisdom behind what can be crammed into 280 characters. So I wanted to play with expanding on that and just seeing what the fuck happens. So join in on the fun and we'll see where this goes. All right, here's a tweet. It's actually from about a year ago and was retweeted by my retweet machine. It says, "Don't let fear control you. Learn to breathe though it, and discover that fear is just excitement with the breath held." So I am master of making typos in my Twitter feed, and I don't catch them. And this one I didn't fucking catch until just now. Learn to breathe through it is what it should say, obviously. All right. So here's why I tweeted that. A lot of people out there are very scared. And the media and the government and corporations and all kinds of like nasty people are taking advantage of that. Right? They're using the fact that you're scared to control you. And they're using the fact that you haven't fucking learned how to master fear to control you. If you're not in charge of your own fear system, of your own amygdala, of your own adrenaline system, then you're the fucking slave. You're a slave to society. You're a slave to the government. You're a slave to the media. You're a slave to corporations. You're a slave to Facebook and Instagram, all that stuff. If you are not a master of your level of fear, Fritz Perls said, it's one of my favorite quotes, "Fear is excitement with the breath held." Fear is excitement with the breath held, right? We pay money to go in a fucking roller coaster. Why? Because it's exciting. Why is that exciting? Because it triggers our fear system, but we're not really scared. And so instead, what do? We scream. Ah! So that requires us to breathe. So we breathe and we scream because we're not really, really scared. But when we get really, really scared, what we do instead is we lock up, and then we don't breathe, and then we hold like that, and we're like terrified. If instead, you breathe, soften your body, then you realize, oh my God, this is exciting. This is excitement. That's what it is. Fear is excitement with the breath held. Also, check out Katie Hendricks' fear melters, because depending on your fear reaction, whether it's fight or flight or faint or freeze, you can do certain body moves that's going to move you out of fear. You should never allow yourself to be in fear for a second, for any length of time. As soon as you notice that you're scared, you need to know how to stop that and how to turn it into excitement, turn it into flow, turn it into life, energy, and juice, and joy and happiness. You must not let anyone control you with fear. If you allow yourself to be scared by anything, then you are not in charge of your life. This is fucking important, people. This is really damn important. You have to be the master of your fear. Breathe, do the fear melters, move, question your thoughts and beliefs, right? Byron Katie has these 4 questions. Is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? Number 1, is this true? Right? Is it true that, this virus is going to kill me? Maybe not. Can I absolutely know that it's true? No, I can't. All right. How do I feel when I think the thought that this is true? Terrible. How would I feel if I could never think that thought again? Like, here we go. 4. Here we go. So those are the questions you want to ask, and then you want to you want to allow the thought to let go of you, right? You want to stop holding on to and gripping onto this thought saying, oh shit, like this is terrible. Just, maybe it's not true. I can't know for sure. Live your freaking life, right? Live your life. You'll never get this day back ever again. You will learn to just enjoy every moment and not let fear control your life, or you will be a slave. All right, moving on. So for most of my life, I didn't feel loved or seen by my dad. So I actually went through that in my live stream this morning, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I just want to say, let me say this. As a human being, you have to make peace with your parents. Until you make peace with your parents, you will not be free. You will live in reaction to them, in opposition to them. You will somehow be struggling with them. You'll have unresolved issues. You need to get to a point where you genuinely love and forgive both your father and your mother, right? You can still be like, these things that you did were wrong. They were wrong. They shouldn't have happened, but they did, and I forgive you, right? Here's all the things that I've resented you for in my life. I forgive you. Let's talk about forgiveness for a second. True forgiveness is you're doing that for you, not for them, right? You're forgiving them for your sake because you're letting the grievance go. You're letting it go. This is how you get to become free. And true forgiveness is when you realize that there's nothing to forgive. You own the part in you that attracted this or that needed this experience, that was attached to it. You own what you learned from it. You own whatever you can about it. Ultimately, I do believe that we get the experiences that we need in order to make us the people that we're here to become. So you take full ownership for your part in it. You forgive the other person 100%, and then you're free, right? So this is what you want to do with your parents. Love them, own your part, and forgive them. Okay? And so both your mom and your dad, as a man, I can tell you, you need to make peace with your father in order for you to become a man, and you need to make peace with your mother in order for you to have a healthy relationship with a woman, because you're going to keep replaying your relationship with your mom in all of your intimate relationships to women. This is how that works until you forgive and come to peace with it. So you absolutely must do that. All right, let's move on. When I was in college in Denmark, my friends would all go study a year abroad in Europe. Me, I wanted to go to the US. It was way harder to get into, but also way more rewarding. In the end, I took a job, learned much more, and made dollars instead of paying. Go for your dreams. So I was studying computer science and information science, and my friends would go to Spain and England and Germany and whatnot. There's this EU thing called Erasmus that just made it super easy to just study at a college in some other EU country. But I was into software and computers and technology, and I'd been obsessed with American space stuff and computer books and all that kind of stuff for ages, and it seemed pretty darn obvious that the US was the place to go to learn software and computers and tech. And so I started applying it to universities in the US. And it was super complicated. It's like I didn't know shit about America. So I got this is a map. This is pre-Google Maps. Google Maps hadn't launched. So it was like MapQuest existed, I think. But I just bought like a street atlas, a road atlas, to just even get a sense of this country. Like, oh, New York, oh, is over there. LA is over there, huh? Chicago there, San Diego. Like, I've heard of these places, but like I didn't know anything about them. I had no idea where they were or what the sort of the vibe of each place was. And so bought a travel guide and started to read up on it and try to understand. And then San Francisco obviously was a place that I looked at. And then I started applying for some universities. I thought I was going to do computer vision. That seemed to be the hot thing at the time. I was really interested in that. I applied to some places, and I actually got admitted to a couple of universities. But in the meantime, I was really into photography. And so I was reading photo.net, a website about photography. And as I was doing that, I realized that this guy who wrote the website, who put together photo.net, his name is Philip Greenspun, he'd also written a book called What I Learned from Building More Than 200 Database-Backed Websites. Actually, that was not the title of the book. That was a link that was on the front page. And I clicked that link, and it was a full text of this book called Philip and Alex's Guide to Web Publishing. And it was amazing. It was super, super helpful. So I printed that shit out and I read it on my balcony in my apartment in Aarhus in Denmark. And I learned so much. And when I came to America, I didn't dream of ever getting a job with him. I went over as a tourist. I applied for it was crazy. I didn't know my own fucking worth. So I went to I thought like, oh well, this program, I was like, it's fine, but I want to be like a photographer and designer and all these things. I always wanted to be something different because I thought it was cooler or whatever. So applied for these jobs and didn't get any of them. They were not impressed. And then I go to a talk by Philip Greenspun, and he after the talk, I go up and chat and tell him like I studied computer science in Denmark, and he's like, well, you should apply for a job with us. And I was like, you think I could work? I was crazy. I'm like, well, I need a visa and stuff. He, well, we'll sponsor a visa. That's fine. We can handle that. We've done that before. I'm like, okay, sounds great. Let's fucking do it. So I did. It was like the problem sets from his MIT class. I did those. I aced them apparently. I thought I sucked, but I did really, really well. And they hired me and they got me a visa. So it all freaking worked out because I believed in it and pursued it. And it wasn't easy. There was lots of, obstacles, but I just kept going. And so that's what I want to say here is like, go for what you really want, not for, the second rate or the third rate, or like, don't censor yourself. Don't negotiate, compromise before you've even started going for what you really want. That's the point of this tweet here. All right. Next up. GM people, your reminder that people die every day for a variety of reasons. You never know when life will end for you or someone else. Remember to live fully while you can. All right, actually, I think that went retweeted again. So I actually just did a thing on that. But basically, you're going to die. Everybody you love is going to die. Maybe they die before you, or maybe they die after. Who knows? You can't let that stop you from living life. Enjoy your fucking life, especially with this garbage COVID thing, which everybody like with two, brain cells to rub together knows we're being scammed and manipulated by the media and the government. Like there are people who live in terror of this thing. People who won't travel, who won't hug people, who won't see people, who won't, and their countries like Australia and Austria, where they're like locking people into their fucking homes and arresting them if they dare venture outside and get some fucking fresh air. It's insane. Like, we are going to die. It's okay. And people don't have a sense of the numbers of deaths, right? Like in this country, there's 350 fucking million people in this country. And how many people die every day on a normal day? I don't know the number, but I'm sure it's higher than we would think, right? So when they come and they say, well, 100 people die a day, is that a lot or is it a little? Like, you need context to know that. But if they deliberately don't give you that context, and then it seems like, oh shit, it's got to be really terrible. It's got to be really bad, because people don't know how to think. People don't know how to contextualize stuff. People don't know, they just get scared. So you need to remember to live while you fucking can, because there are no do-overs on this planet. All right. This is just one of those things that I really thought was funny. I was like about to, I was thinking about my son and how I appreciate him. I value him. And then I was like, like in Danish, I would literally said I'd put a price on you. It's like kind of weird. Didn't do terribly well as a tweet. All right. It's easy for women to metaphorically cut their men's dick off by shaming them. What I love about Alison Armstrong is she makes women promise to take that weapon off the table. There can be no real relationship under the threat of emasculation. So this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, because I'm someone who's definitely allowed myself to be emasculated a lot, and you cannot let that happen, right? So as a man in a relationship, you have to step that up. But it's something that, with the way the culture is, like, it's very easy to like look at him, like shame people. If you look at the whole Me Too movement, or like, even I was thinking like the whole thing about like mansplaining and manspreading and all that stuff. It's all designed to shame men. and emasculate them and like not be so masculine, right? And it's very easy for us as men to let that get to us, and I feel like if you're in a relationship with a woman and she does this, like, you can't, if you have to constantly push back and defend against those kinds of attacks, which are very easy for a woman to do when she feels threatened, then you're never going to have real deep intimacy. So as a woman, you absolutely need to commit to taking that weapon off the table, and then we can have a real relationship. The crazy thing is that men are actually way more romantic than women. We want to care for the women in our lives. We want to support them. We want to provide for them, right? We want to protect them. Like, that's our natural instinct. And you have to create the conditions that allows us to do that. But if you keep emasculating us, you're not going to get that. You're going to get distance. So that's that. All right, here we go. So this was Ian Smith from the Attila's Gym in New Jersey who stayed open throughout this whole pandemic. So he's saying, yesterday we passed 300,000 visitors since we reopened against Governor Murphy's unconstitutional shutdown orders. No masks or mandates. Still waiting for Philip to come find an outbreak here. I'm not sure. Is that Philip Murphy? I think that's the government, right? But he never will. He's been made to look stupid enough times. Science and data, right? So 300,000 visitors since June 16, 2020, and not a single case of COVID. No masks and no vax mandates. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fucking interesting? Like, if that's true, that this gym can have 300,000 visits over a year and a half and not one freaking case that is traced back to this place, what does that tell us about this disease and how dangerous and scary and whatnot it is, right? What does that tell us? It tells us that this stuff is way overblown. I'm not saying that there aren't people who get sick. I'm not saying that there aren't people who die from this thing. But it's been way overblown. It's been blown way out of proportion. Why? Because it's useful. It's useful to scare people, because then they are slaves and we can control them and they will do what we want, right? That's the game here, guys. This is deliberate. This is 100% deliberate. We don't have proof yet, but I feel confident. I feel very, very high probability that this was deliberately launched as a bioweapon to take down Trump and the West, and there are powers in the West who have latched onto it and is using it to control us. And they absolutely want to enslave us. They absolutely want to bleed us dry of money and make us do whatever the hell they say they want us to do, or you don't get to participate in society. There are countries now that don't let their citizens leave. Don't let their citizens leave the damn country. That's fucking insane. That's insane. That hasn't been a thing since the Soviet Union, since the Berlin Wall came down, and all of a sudden people living in East Berlin realized, oh shit, I can't leave now. That's not a good sign, people. That's a horrible sign. So what I wrote here is the pandemic is long over, except for people who watch CNN or MSNBC and those who are profiting from it. Right? It really has been over for a long time. It was never really a thing that we needed to take that seriously. It never was. Right? I had COVID in March 2020, sick for 3 days. I have taken 0 precautions since, and I have had 0 sick days since that. That's over a year and a half. This is complete charade. It's a complete sham. And anyone with like eyes in their heads and the ability to think realizes this, right? Like, why are we not looking at antibodies? Why didn't we start looking at antibodies super duper early? Like, it's insane what's going on. And it's insane to me how many people are going along with it. It's really crazy. So wake the fuck up and realize what's going on here. Yeah. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who profit from it, and there are a lot of people who are so scared and so trained to be obedient that they still believe that this is happening and they're scared, and then that because they're scared, they want to control others, right? They want to get others to like distance and mask and vax and all that stuff so that they don't have to feel afraid. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not, and it's terrible. Yeah, it's insane, guys. All right, let's look at this one. When I was in college, I saw my fellow students focus all of their energy on curriculum and exams. I never gave a hoot about that. I focused on what I was interested in and only spent minimal effort on the rest. Why would I want a job where they cared about anything else? All right, I even wrote a song about this, actually, the exam song. It's like, what, like, you're whining, like, stop whining, just study and then go to the exam and get it over with. Like, people were so like, are they going to ask about this in the exam? Are they going to ask about that in the exam? I was like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, is this interesting to me? I studied computer science, I studied information science, I studied economics, and actually, I was really curious. I really wanted to understand micro and macroeconomics and money supply and all that stuff. Like, this is good, useful information to have a basic understanding of economics and computer science, and information science was basically user interfaces. Super good information. I was excited about it. I let my curiosity lead. If you're in college, I highly recommend that you let your curiosity lead, and then don't give a fuck about the exams. Study for sure, but like don't, during the year, you're just focusing on how do I get the most value out of this, not how do I meet the standards required for an exam. All right. Invest in you, right? Don't focus on obeying and serving your masters. Focus on investing in you and growing you to be who you want to be. That, for some reason, that was always my perspective, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, similar theme here. I never understood people who are nervous about exams. Study as much as you can, get a good night's sleep, relax day off, and then go give it your best. Let the chips fall as they may. That's really all you can do. What I used to do was I would study for as much time as I had during that. There's like this period of year where it was like exam period. There's no lessons. There's no lectures. It was just go study. And I would study. And I would map out the how much I had to get through and how much time I had to cover each thing. And I would study till I felt like I really understood it, right? Not cram to memorize shit, because that never worked for me. I'm garbage in memorizing. But I'm good at understanding. Once I understand something, I don't forget it, right? So I would study to understand, and I highly recommend that. It's way superior than trying to memorize shit. Study to understand why. Why is it this way? What is the principle? What is the underlying? If I forgot the fact, how would I arrive at that fact again, right? By logic, by reason. That's what you want to do. That's how you want to study. That's how you want to learn in general. If I had to reason my way to this point again, what would that look like? And then I would get a good night's sleep. And then the day of, I would go winter bathing. Like there's a little club that I was a member of down by the ocean. And I'd go there and I'd jump in the ice cold water if it was the winter. And there's a sauna, and then I'd just like hang out and just like relax my body as much as possible, right? Cold and hot and going back and forth and hang out with my girlfriend and all that. And then I'd go up and do the exam. Oh, another trick that I had that I didn't write here is I would go, because I was nervous, sure. I didn't know what was expected. I didn't know what that level was. But I would go and I'd watch a couple of examinations before me. And that would always give me confidence. So, and because these are public, anyone can jump in and just sit in the audience when someone else is going in for any exam. I would usually ask people if they're okay with it, just to be nice, but they are public, so you have a right to, at least in my university in Denmark at my time, everybody has a right to go there and see, and that would calm my nerves a lot, because I would see, all right, this is kind of the level. I feel pretty confident in my studying, my understanding. And I just get to sort of visualize what the process was going to look like. So that helped a lot. I do that with like one or two before me. And then it was my turn. And you just forget everything, drop the commentary, just be present and focused. And that's all you can do. Fun fact, yesterday I was on with Gary Vaynerchuk for 5 minutes. And I had like 5 minutes scheduled on the dot at 2:40. And it's the same kind of thing where you're like, I gotta focus on, I prepared as much as I could, and then I just went in and I was like, all right, let me just be super clear, super focused, and get the most out of this. It's like same kind of thing. Just once you get there, once you're done, you don't have more time to study and prep. It's just getting centered and present. That's all you can do, right? Your mind wants to go like, oh, I need like this thing, like just one more thing. No, this is useless at that point. All you can do is just trust that you've done the prep that you needed to do and just be calm and collected and present. That's it. All right, next up, people who profit off of alleged racism see racism everywhere. Human beings are projection-making machines. Right? We project all the stuff that we don't want to be with about ourselves is what we project onto others. You can almost guarantee that the people who are most obsessed with race and racism are the most racist people themselves. Almost guaranteed. Right? So someone who's I saw this the first time with Trevor Noah. And it was the thing with Trump where Trump was saying, why do we keep getting immigrants from shithole countries and not from like Haiti and not from places like Norway? And the media made that out to be a racist thing. There's zero evidence that this is racist. Of course, if you want to look at life through a racist lens because you are a racist, because you see everything as having to do with racism, with race, then sure, you look at Haiti and they're, I don't know even what, are they black? I'm assuming they're black. And then you look at Norway and they're generally white, and then you're saying, oh, it's racist, right? But that's because you're racist. That's because that's your lens, that's your filter. It's because you look at the world through a racist lens, that you're obsessed with the race of people. But to people who are not racist, you just look at it and you're like, that makes fucking sense. Norway has, first of all, the reason he said Norway was that the Norwegian prime minister was visiting that exact same time, so it's top of mind for him. But Norway is a wealthy, well-functioning, highly educated country. So people who come from there are more likely to know how to like be civilized, and are like civilized comes off wrong, but like they know how to operate in a highly developed nation, right? They know how to start businesses. They're highly educated. They're orderly. They are law abiding. Like all these like basic things that we kind of take for granted, but which are dramatically disappearing these days, right? They're dramatically being uprooted. And then you compare that to someone in Haiti who lives in a dysfunctional state. So they're less likely to be educated. They're less likely to probably be, good at starting businesses and creating jobs. They're less likely to, possibly even know how to make a decent living for themselves, and less likely to be law-abiding and all of those things. So all those qualities that we want in the people here, assuming that we want a healthy, functioning society, which I think a lot of people don't, to be honest. But that really made me realize this. And then, if you look at the Rittenhouse trial, which just happened, there are people who make it out that the pedophile and the other guys that Rittenhouse ended up killing were black, when they were actually not. They were white. It's like, that's bizarre. There's so much, it's so racist that they turn someone who's white into being black just so they can blame this on racism and like white supremacy, even though there's like no indication. Same thing is true with the George Floyd case. It was clear to me from day one, there's zero indications, zero evidence here that this has anything to do with race. None whatsoever. And during the trial, none came up. There's still to this day no evidence that race had anything to do with this. Right? So people who make this about racism are racist. They're misguided. It's not about racism. It's about, I don't know, it's about like, a lot of other things. We don't need to go there. but there's no indication that racism has anything to do with it. So racists see racism everywhere. That's how that works. All right, cool. Let's do one more and then we're going to split. Most politicians and people in the media have major mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health issues. Focus on your own health, grow yourself. We need a new crop of leaders who aren't deranged. All right, if you look at our politicians, for starters, members of Congress, our president, like, would you say that they are mentally mature? Most of them are not, right? They're busy doing projections. They probably haven't done their own inner healing work, inner growth work. They're busy blaming outside forces and other people. In general, politics is a lot of drama triangle where I'm blaming you and you're blaming me, and then we can blame each other and we can both play the victim. Not helpful. That's not very mature. Emotionally, I guess that mentally is like questioning your beliefs. Like, is this really true? Like mental maturity would also be like really genuinely try to understand the other side, really genuinely try to understand the problem and come up with a smart solution. Work based on evidence, right? That we're not seeing that. We're seeing people who come up and make emotional arguments that are often disconnected from reality. Like a classic example would be the minimum wage. We want people to make more money. Well, is the minimum wage actually going to accomplish that? Or is it just going to accomplish, raising the prices for everybody so it causes more inflation, and it's going to keep people out of the labor market so it creates more joblessness, right? That seems to be more likely to happen, but nobody promoting minimum wage wants to be honest about that. They don't have the mental maturity to think through second order, third order consequences, right? Just because you have a bill that has a nice name and it like the first order consequence is good, there are going to be other consequences down the line that might not be very helpful. And usually there are, because people's behavior change in the face of different incentives. That's just how that works. Emotionally is like doing your own inner work and healing your trauma so it doesn't run you. I don't see a lot of people doing that in media or government. Physical, right? They have terrible posture, terrible health, terrible diet. I'm sure most of them have terrible bad breath. Which is a sign that your internals are not healthy, are not good. So yeah, no, all of that shit is not very comforting. And then spiritual health, right? Most of them not like really connected to a higher power, higher self, purpose in life. Some maybe, but most of them seem really, really petty. And we need leaders who are mature. We really, really need leaders who are mature. So that's why I want to help grow a crop of leaders who do the inner work, who do that mental, emotional, spiritual, physical maturity so that we can get fully mature leaders. That is what the world needs. And I'm going to end on that note. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you guys again some other time. Appreciate you very much. Much love. Bye, guys.